You know, Brian, when you're talking about running a business, it is your life. I mean, a lot of times business owners have put everything they have into these businesses, and to transition out is a process. It starts with planning, and it starts with not only what the numbers are, but what's in your heart as well. If you have a succession plan, you surrounded yourself by really good team members, and that allows you to move into a transition. That's what people have to do when they're selling their businesses. Go, when am I going to do this? How am I going to do it? What am I going to leave for my kids? How am I going to live my life and replace that income?
If you're thinking about doing a business transition, it's something to think about well ahead of time. Not like, oh, you know what, I'm getting close. With the next year, I want to do it. It's probably something, a multi-year process to set it up as far as that succession plan especially. And I think that it's also this mental shift as far as if you think about the income that you get from owning a business and then shifting to thinking about, I'm going to try to be getting income out of the portfolio that I create from perhaps selling the business. That can be very different as well, because within the business, there are a lot of things obviously outside of your control, but you do have a little bit more control about what you do with your business and how it's run, as opposed to when you're investing, right? So it's this mental mind shift as well. Really, if you are thinking about doing a business transition, anybody out there, get involved, get thinking about it years ahead of time. Do it earlier. The earlier, the better. I don't think you can do it too early either.
And you think about what we would do there. First, talk about identifying your current lifestyle and what you want it to look like. That's a big part of the conversation. And then from there, do you have charitable goals? Do you have legacy goals? How are you going to transition? And again, you talk about replacing that income that you had as a business owner. You have to value the business, and you have to put a multiple on it. And when you sell it, you then have to pay taxes on that.
And there are ways to help mitigate, I think, some of the tax hit that some people might not be familiar with, where if you're selling the business, is it something that is like what's called qualified small business stock, something that you can transition it then into other securities. Maybe you can reduce the taxes or defer the taxes. Can you use things that are called like opportunity zone investments? Different things that the government has put in place in the tax code to encourage people that if you're going to sell your business, there might be more tax efficient ways to do it than just getting a lump sum check. Or if you do get a lump sum check, there are perhaps ways in which you can tax optimize it. So it's about the estate planning, the tax planning, but also obviously the financial planning. And we're saying planning a lot. And then after you've done the planning, then you can think about the portfolio, right? So it's about putting the planning first. And I think that's a really key thing.
And of course, it's a flywheel. Even though you've done the planning and you've looked at it in the investments, then you review it, you check to see if you're on track, and you start that process again. And that's the reason why working with a fee-only fiduciary is so important, because you know you're not going to get sold something when you're not looking, that you and your advisor are aligned at that point. But you said lump sum, and it made me think that when people think about selling a business, they might think of it in a binary term. It's either on or it's off. And that's really not what it could be. There are ways, for example, to walk your way out, begin to sell some of those shares over time.
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, if you are the owner, can it be like an employee stock ownership plan? Is there a management buyout? Is there going to be some sort of retainer that's done as far as an installment sale? Do you stay on as a consultant? I've also seen situations with clients where they've sold the business, but they've retained the property, right? As far as where's the business going to operate. So they own the property itself, and that's part of their exit strategy as well. So you can allocate the proceeds, the lease backs and that. So there's all sorts of creative things that can happen. And that's where working with a fee-only fiduciary, somebody who is sitting on your side of the table, advocating for your interests, can be so important to maximize the value, not just as far as the price that you get, but that you also get to keep over time.
And of course, it's not just that. It's really the team. Who is on the team that you're meeting with? Is it one single advisor who's supposed to be an expert in estate planning, tax planning, investment planning, financial planning? It really is about the team.